At time, I'm going to go ahead and start the recording here. I have 11 o'clock East Coast time. Thank you all for being here on time. Hopefully, you had a good evening. Today, we have a couple things going on the agenda, but lots and lots of team time. Scott's going to be talking a little bit about element B, which is when we start diving into current and past solutions. There's some resources out there for element B, and there's also some friends you could make on your own, reaching out as far as maybe different patent attorneys that you can get involved when we start talking about element B. Just so you all know, if you are following kind of on your own in the My PLTW curriculum, this is the student guide. Again, open this up in its own separate tab that you're using the E3 system. I know the login issues, they've calmed down a little bit, so it doesn't log you out being inactive for half an hour. I think they give you a couple hours now. But if you go and actually check out the actual online class with all the resources, again, your students are not going to use everything inside here, but inside here, just to kind of show you where we're at. Right now, we're in component two, which includes element A, element B, element C. Remember, element A is all about justifying the problem, is doing the research articles, surveys, finding experts, interviewing. This is where the five associations come into play. This is where my students have their 25, keyword activity that they do inside there. And I am going to talk a little bit about some of the deliverables and some of the gradable items that you can use with inside here. But what Scott and what we're going to be introducing today, just so when it comes time for on your own time, whether it's during the lunch break or it's later on tonight, element B is everything that we're going to be going over today. So element B, there's some things in here as far as patent researches. There's some information in here as far as products available on the commercial retail market. But just so you guys are all aware, a lot of these resources that we've shared that we pulled out of here and some of the PowerPoint files we pulled out are all covered here in this element B area. So again, this is the My PLTW. This is the online website. You may want to use this with your students, or you may just kind of pick and pull through this as you're teaching some of these elements. Again, we have all different backgrounds. We have students that may be in biomedical, students in computer science, computer students in engineering. So again, you're not going to go through every one of these little PowerPoints, every one of these files, every one of these resources. But at least if your students have access to this, they can kind of use this and kind of, read more too, even on their own, because there's lots and lots of good information inside here. But this is where we are as far as our summer training. It's element B, and we're in component two. Anybody have any questions on this kind of like this online platform? And again, this is brand new for our course. I know some of you who do biomedical, even computer science, you may have been using this for a couple years now, but we are transitioning over. I did find some broken links inside here. I found some things that Project Lead the Way has been updating, so that's a good thing. It's always live. If you it used to be if there are spelling errors, I wouldn't get corrected until like 2 or 3 years sometimes. However, this being live, Project Lead the Way is pretty good as far as fixing links or if things are left out, they're good at putting things back up inside here. All right. Cool, cool, cool. So just so you know where those resources are. All right. So for day four, this is where I kind of just remind my students, hey, with project management, I know we have our list of live team deliverables, but just so students know what's going inside like their little folders. I know sometimes you call this component one. I like calling this element zero for the team name, the team logo, team pictures, contact information. But more importantly, element A. By now, my students, they have their problem statement inside there. They started with a very vague one. They're starting to wordsmith it and refine it, and they're going to continue to refine that problem statement. But that problem statement, whether it's a slide or a Google Doc, is going to live in that element A folder. They've done research article summary sheets. Hopefully, each of you did two apiece. My students do five apiece. All their research articles are saved in here. I do my students' last name, Article 1, last name, Article 2, last name, Article 3. So if I have a team of four, if each student has to do five articles apiece, there's at least 20 article summaries inside there. And there may even be extra articles that students downloaded, maybe journals that they put inside there. Even if they didn't critique them, they're still there for future reference. So I like to keep element A for all the research stuff. And they're going to continue adding to that element A as they go through the rest of the process. Now, this morning, when you do get in your teams, you're going to be looking at your draft of survey questions. You're going to be coming up with a master survey that you all are going to be sending out this morning during lunchtime, maybe beginning part of this afternoon. But that master survey is also going to go in element A. When we start getting the data back, when we start charting that stuff out, which could be, tomorrow or even on Saturday, when we start charting that data out, when we start getting some responses back, all those responses will be in element A. If students are out there talking to different experts, if they're emailing correspondence with different stakeholders out there, again, that's going to be in the element A folder. So file management is critical for students and also too as the instructor, when we sit down and we'll talk about grading with our students as I'm looking over their journals, I'm also looking at their electronic files as well. Today, as we get in and progress in element B, your teams will be coming up with an element B folder, and Scott's going to be leading talking about patents. Part of patents, you're going to be saving some patents to that folder. These are the actual patent files, patent documents. My students will be downloading those patent files. They save them in this new element B folder. My students will be critiquing some of those patents, and all of us here will be critiquing some patents as well. And there's a product summary sheet, there's a patent critique sheet. They'll be saving those inside this element B folder. And eventually, we're going to be creating a similar solution matrix. And this is something that takes my students a couple weeks to do. And this is also where I have a visitor who's a patent attorney. I didn't know who a patent attorney was in my area. I was new. So I do know that every school district has some type of legal team or some type of lawyer. Lawyers are friends with other lawyers. So that's a good starting point for you all to maybe have your principal, administration, central office, maybe reach out to your district legal team and see if they can have a patent attorney come in and talk to your students. And they love coming in talking to students. Does anyone know why these patent attorneys love coming in talking to these high school students?
Talking
Scott,
about their job?
what's that?
Doesn't anyone just love talking about their job?
Yep, yep, yep. They love talking about their job. But Scott, why do the patent attorneys love talking to these young kids?
Oh, because they're all engineers too.
Yep. And it's free advertising for them. So that patent attorney, oh, let's take out our engineering journals. Here's my business card. I know you have a contact section inside there. Why don't you throw my business card in that contact section? Because down the road, after they learn this capstone process, whether they're off at college, whether they're off working and they have that aha moment, they now learn the process because they've taken your capstone class. They now know who a patent attorney is that they could run their ideas by. And I've had students who have done that. I don't want to start getting down that rabbit hole yet, but hey, it's free advertisement for them. So they'll be more than happy to come in and work with your students. But I'm not an attorney. I don't have a patent. I don't know if any of you all have any, sometimes anybody here have a patent that you filed on your own, whether it's through work or maybe on your own like hobby? Do we have any patents here from any of our teachers? Scott, do you have any patents?
I do not at this time, but one of my students last year had a provisional patent she was working on, and it wasn't from engineering class either.
Yep. Yep. I've only had one that turned into a patent, but again, not the goal of the course. But what I'm getting at, I'm not an expert at patents. I can talk a little bit about the resources that Project Lead the Way does. So I save this for my patent attorney. So when they come in and they do their spiel, they have their own presentation, they're the ones that can answer all the questions and really do a good job explaining what it is that they do. All right, so remember, nothing's ever wasted. Continue to trust the process. We're going to be still focusing on the problems. We're not going to be thinking about our solutions yet, but we are going to be looking at other people's solutions at some point today. And just remember, never fall in love with plan A. Always remind students you got to be flexible. Sometimes, things may not work out right. There's some roadblocks inside there. That's all part of those soft skills. Even today, all of our ideas are always going to go inside the journal. When we start talking about patents, eventually later on, whether it's this afternoon or tonight, when you start looking at patents, you're going to be critiquing a couple patents. So we're going to be outlining those inside our journal first, and then we're going to be typing those up on some patent critique forums and then putting those inside our team's Google Drive, portfolio, whatever that, we're using, and of course, what our students are using. So today, what we're going to do is this morning, after Scott talks about patents, element B, but when you get out inside your teams, you're going to be working on your surveys. You're going to be coming up and reviewing your survey questions. You're going to be coming out with your master survey, and we're going to start getting that blasted out. So that's going to take some time with you all this morning, and maybe even to this afternoon, that's going to carry on. But even though we're not ready yet to get into element B as a team, you always want to show your students what the next element is. So when there's kind of downtime, all the teams may not be at the same step, but by me introducing, as Scott and I are, you kind of know what's coming down next. You kind of know what the next step is. And that's why we're always introducing the next element with our students. We always want to be a step ahead of our students so they're not just there twiddling their thumb, playing, paper airplanes, flying them around the room, or doing spitballs. But that's going to come into some patent critiques and some product critiques. So we have a better understanding now of who our voice of customer is. We are still justifying our problem. We've done research articles. We're going to be getting some surveys blasted out. We're going to be looking at some of those responses over the next couple days. So we are in the component 2 area, element B. For students, we're getting new stickers now. They're putting inside their journal, element B for Batman, and they're taking notes now in this element B area when the patent attorney comes in, and as I'm trying to suffer through the USPTO website with them that we're going to be seeing here momentarily, when we're suffering through the patent website, all of that stuff is going to be part of their element B area. Scott, do you want to go ahead and share your screen and get into some patent fun?
Sure. Let's bring up this. And one of the things to keep in mind when you're talking to the students about this, if you notice, I said that when he asked why do the patent attorneys like to come to engineering classes, because they're all engineers. That's one thing to keep in mind as a career path for students. If they think they have an interest in the law, but they also have an interest in engineering, it is a pathway for them. I like to tell them also that if they like detective work, like they read detective novels or trying to figure things out that way, then if they become an engineer, a place to go is like the National Transportation Safety Board or the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Those people who do investigations into accidents and things like that, you need to have an engineering degree to do that. So a couple of different non-traditional places to go do that. All right, so let's talk about intellectual property. I don't know how many of you guys know, but patents and intellectual property in general, but specifically patents, are actually in the Constitution of the United States. It's explicit in there. For most of the time in the Republic, the rule was whoever can prove that they came up with the idea first gets the patent. There is a very Hollywood sanitized version of the life of Alexander Graham Bell, where they go through the patent trial between Bell and Western Union, and very cheesy way they showed that he proved that he came up with the idea of how a telephone works before Western Union did, but that was the idea. But back in 2011, the law was changed to quote be more in line with the rest of the world, which to me, if I can get on a soapbox here for a second, what about American leadership? Why didn't we try to convince them to change it? At any rate, the rule now is whoever gets to the patent office first, whoever files first gets the patent, which I think is plainly wrong because little people don't stand a chance against big corporations and stuff. But at any rate, that's the lay of the land right at the moment. So intellectual property. So again, like we said, first day, the purpose of the course is to look at the design process and understand it, how it's documented. However, as we have said, we may come up with some ideas that become patentable. Not the goal, of course. That's not what we're doing, but it could happen. So let's talk about intellectual property, invention versus innovation. What are the types of intellectual property? Licensing, royalties, what's the difference? Entrepreneurs, business plans. So, okay. Intellectual property, in a nutshell, is something that is produced by the mind, of which the ownership or right to use may be legally protected. Note the word does say may, not always. So, invention, something new, new device, method, process developed from study and experimentation. It's not necessarily based on something, an improvement to something already. An innovation is an improvement of an existing technological product. So a little bit different. I'm not saying that inventions spring whole new from nothing else. Doesn't happen that way. We talk a lot about, these great breakthroughs and everything. The breakthroughs are the things that get noticed, but there's a whole lot of work behind it. Like the transistor, when it was developed in the 1950s, it was not like Shockey and the other guys just all of a sudden, oh, hey, here's an idea, let's do this, without having had any other knowledge. There's a lot of work that built up to it. So,
Scott,
right.
as far as that previous slide, the patent attorney that comes in, he says, "Hey, look, an invention. Somebody invented the life jacket. However, someone decided, what if I add a red blinking light that gets water activated? So if you're jumping out of a plane, it automatically starts blinking." He says someone invented the life jacket. However, someone who put on that red blinking light, now that's an innovation. And I like that example that he
Right.
uses. So you have two separate inventions, but then you're kind of picking and pulling, combining them, and that's the innovation. And I like that he uses that example with my students.
Right. That's a good one. So, okay. So, 4 types of intellectual property: a patent, a trademark, copyright, and what's known as a trade secret. Uh, Anybody got an example of a patent?
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, is that a patent?
Great secret.
Yes, it is, because it is a process, right? It's the ingredients that go into that makes a product. So yes, that would be a patentable thing. What about a trademark?
Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
Sprite.
Coca-Cola, the script and everything in there that says Coca-Cola. I even think the shape of the bottle, or at least the glass bottles that you used to be able to get here in Texas. I don't know about anywhere else. We get the traditional 16-ounce glass bottles, but they're shipped up from Mexico. They're not made here in the United States. So that is a trademark. That related to that is also called a service mark. So if you're not making a product, if you're providing a service, you can have a service mark. Copyright.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.
I'm sorry.
The McDonald's little jingle is copyright.
Yes, very good. The jingle would be copyrighted. So would any book, or all of our PLTW curriculum is copyrighted, right? And then trade secrets.
KFC's flavors.
Yeah, actually, and going back, the Coca-Cola formula is not patented. I forgot about that. It's not patented. It is a trade secret. Because if it's patented, then everybody, when you patent it, it becomes public record. And so if Coca-Cola patented the formula for Coke, then everybody would know what the formula is, and everybody could knock it off as soon as the patent expired. So they keep it as a trade secret. So those are the four different kinds. So let's talk about that. So intellectual property overall, there's patents, okay? Different kinds of patents. There's utility patents. So that's something useful, not a novel, not obvious. So usually things that you might have, like the transistor would have a utility patent. Design patent, so that's ornamental design kinds of things. And then this is a relatively new one, plant patents, and that has to do with, genetically modified organisms. And this is actually causes a lot of problem because one farmer plants with Monsanto corn that has been genetically modified, but the guy across the road doesn't. The pollen from the GMO corn gets into the air, floats across, pollinates the other guy's things. So now the guy has corn that is partially patent protected and stuff. It gets dicey on that. So all of these require a formal application. You have to fill out paperwork, and you got to have a lawyer, intellectual property lawyer. Trademarks, so any word, symbol, or color. So that the swoosh in Nike and things like that would all be trademarked. Copyrights, so movies, books, magazines, magazine articles, newspaper articles, curriculum would all be that. Again, requires a formal application, although there are some things you can do to protect immediately, even before you get the application turned in. And then there's trade secrets. So they're proprietary and useful, but they are not registered. You keep it out of the public domain, so nobody knows what it is. But if somebody is able to reverse engineer it or something like that, you do not have the legal protection. The only legal protection you would have is like somebody broke into the Coca-Cola headquarters in Atlanta and got to the safe, opened it up, and pulled out the slip of paper that has the formula on it. So useful, but dangerous. It has danger. So patent, a grant of property rights made by a government to the inventor under United States law. Patent grants right to exclude others from making, using, offering for sale, or selling the invention throughout the United States, or importing the invention to the United States. So even if somebody goes and looks at your patent, your US patent, and sees what it looks like, and then goes overseas, manufactures the exact same thing and tries to ship it in, you can say to the government, hey, no, don't let that in because it is protected by my patent. So patents have to meet three things: useful, novel, and non-obvious. Provisional patent is, patents are expensive to do because you got to hire the lawyer, you got to get the artist to put together all the sketches that go into the thing and all. You can file a provisional patent, less expensive, less detailed. It gives you a year of protection while you try to find out whether you're going to license it or set up royalties or something like that before you file a full patent application, but only 1 year. And I don't think you get to extend it. Okay. Copyright. So whenever you see the C in the little circle, that means something is copyrighted. Exclusive legal right to reproduce, publish, sell, or distribute. So, and this is one of those things, as teachers, we have to be careful about using copyrighted material without attribution. This is why we teach the kids it's important to use your APA or MLA. I'm 66 is terrible on my mind. But you have to do your citations. That's the word I was looking for. Trademark, symbol, design, word, letter used by a manufacturer. And so you get the little TM. So you can put a TM on something right away, but it hasn't been registered yet. After you fill out the paperwork and get it registered, then you get the little R in the circle to indicate that it has been registered. As I understand, again, I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand it, you can put the C on it right away before you fill out the paperwork, and therefore you're copyrighted. And then trade secret, like a formula, Coca-Cola, which has economic value to a business because it's not generally known or easily discoverable by observation. And you have to make an effort at maintaining secrecy. If you've got employees that are just blabbing away about what it is and everything that goes into it, and you don't do anything to admonish those employees or anything, you're not making an effort to maintain the secrecy. Okay. So licensing. So this is the granting of permission to use intellectual property rights, such as trademarks, patents, or technology under defined conditions. So it's a contract that you set up with someone. And then usually what follows from licensing is royalties. So when the licensee uses your patent to produce a product and sell it, you get a cut of it, of the profits on that. So the other thing that you can do with this is that you can sell the patent wholesale for a lump sum, and then you're done with it. I would think royalties is probably a better idea, but there you go. Okay, so entrepreneur versus intrapreneur. Person who organizes and manages a business undertaking assume the risk for the sake of profit. So that's, if you're starting up a new company, in some respects, you could call me an entrepreneur. It's just a very slow entrepreneur. It's taken a while to get things done. An intrapreneur, a lot of companies will give employees freedom and resources to initiate products. A company that is particularly famous for this is 3M, Minnesota Mining and Materials. They allow, or at least they used to allow, their research scientists and engineers to use up to 10% of any budget that they're given to do whatever they want. And the story goes that that's how we got Post-it notes. The guy in the adhesives lab and everything was in the church choir, and he got tired of the slips of paper that he stuck in his hymnal for the hymns that were going to be sung on Sunday falling out. If he dropped the thing, they would fall out. And he wanted something that would stick. But if you've ever seen a hymnal, it's very fine onion skin paper. And so he needed one that would not ruin the fine paper and could be peeled off and used somewhere else. Hence, Post-it notes, which, by the way, Post-it notes is a trademark. Otherwise, you have to call it sticky notes. Okay, business plan. So, all right, I've got an idea. I can get it patented. I think there's, I can make the argument that mine meets the 3 criteria and everything like that. So, what am I going to do with it? Well, if I want to, even if I want to license it out and just collect the royalties and everything, I have to have a business which can get it, get into the legal contracts and everything like that. So you have to put together a business plan. So presentation that tells about your product, the market for it, how you plan to use any money that people invest in it. If you want to get investment money, you have to have a business plan. No serious investor is going to talk to you if you do not have a business plan. So it may be, a lot of people do things out of their basement or their garage or whatever, and it's not a big deal, and they don't, the question would be is how profitable are they? They may not be taking into account all of the costs that are involved in making this product. It is certainly not their time. But you probably don't need a business plan for it. But if you're asking for money or resources, if you're going to go to a bank or a venture capitalist or something like that, you've got to have a business plan. So that is that. So how do we know? Exit screen. Okay. So how do we know what patents are there? So thank you. Got that stupid drop down. There. Okay. So how do we know what patents are out there, and how do we have our students learn about it? So this is the main website for the United States Patent and Trademark Office, just uspto.gov. Make sure that they're using .gov, that they don't get sucked into a .com or something like that. So there's a lot of stuff in here: patent basics, trademark basics, so on and so forth. So if you want to look up patents, where is it? Where is it? Where's it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Come back. Tools and links, online patent tools, right? So you can come over here. And the reason why it was taking me a while to figure out is it seems as though every year when I come back to this, and I think Jeff says the same thing the other day, is that they've changed it. They've done something. They've updated it. No. So fees, filing, other resources, patent trial and appeal board. So you can see everything that goes along with that. And where is the thing for just searching for patents? Why do they do this every year? Find it fast.
Scott, if you go to patents,
Yeah, I got it. Public
oh yeah,
patent.
and then you'll see the
Under
search.
find it fast. Okay. So you have basic search. All right. So you can, like I used to work in it, and it's jet engines. Oh, okay. Turbines. Okay, so what did I say? It was too broad or something. So, but I could also go back here. I go to the advanced search. So now I think I can say jet engine. And what do I got? I got 3,692,730 results about things with jet engines. So let me see if I can find one. Rotorcraft power plant cooling system. Okay, so there's the patent number. And if I click on that on this side, I get the patent for it. Now there's a lot of information on here. Patent, the patent number, the date it was published. So this was just published.
Today. That's what's crazy, that all of those are published today.
Maybe it was today is the day that the list was published and it was published on the screen. That might be what it is, as opposed to when it was granted. So I'm thinking we're looking back at 2013 or something. Date filed. Oh, okay. 1/19/24. So that's when this patent was filed. So there's an abstract, there's background information. You're going to get down here to, this describes the whole thing. Now, all these numbers in here, somewhere in here, there's a picture. See, there's the way they've done this. Somewhere up there, it allows you to go find the image that goes with it. Anyhow, so a few things that are important on here. See, US class, right? And Jeff, help me remember, what does CPC stand for? Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
So it's a something class. And so these letters and numbers here are a way of classifying these things. So you can select the class to look under. So like class B gives us what? Cooperative plant, CPC, cooperative plant classification. So performing operations and transporting. So this since it's an engine, it has to do with transport. So that's what anything that's a B has to do with transport. And so there's a lot of subsections to it. So I think you can go back Hmm. This is one thing I don't like about Zoom. They do this. I don't know if you guys could see it, but I got the thing on at the top that is the menu bar and it keeps dropping down. If I go back over here. So I think we can go back over here. And we could go like B64. I think we'll find anything and everything that is of class B64. So here we've got multiple people on this was aluminum alloy sheet for can lids. So all of these people are granted the patent as the inventors of it, but it's done, they're assigned to this corporation. So these guys probably work for this corporation and they paid for, you know, all the patent work and everything. They get their name on it, but it belongs to the company. You know, so more stuff down here that you can search by. And that's important because the kids are going to start out with something broad, like what I did, jet engines, right? And if I want to find out more about, I don't know, control systems for jet engines, I'm going to have to start using these CPCs to narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down further and further until I find just patents having to do with, I don't know, fuel controls for jet engines, that sort of a thing. So I highly recommend that you play around on this a little bit. What I have them do for an initial exercise with this, I have, and I'll get it posted up for you guys. I have an exercise I give them that has, I have a very long list of different products. Some of them very common things. Some of them are more esoteric kinds of things. They're generally they're either some sort of a mechanical device or some sort of an electronic device or some sort of a medical device. And so I will generally give each student one product from each one of those three categories. So they have three to go look up, but they're all doing their own. So that, you know, they're not just sharing with each other. And they'll have to go look up all the information on here and find it. And then there's a form to fill out and they turn it in. And then this is pretty much before their teams are fully formed and everything like that. Then when they are in teams and they're doing that current previous solutions, this is one of the places where I expect them to go and dig in and find out what all solutions are there already that solve their problem. So,
Mike, a question.
yeah.
Is there like a document that kind of breaks down like how this is set up? Like when you're talking about the alphabet soup that you're talking about, you know, for me to reference for the kids?
Yeah. There is a PowerPoint that we have, but I don't know how up to date it is because, like I said, they keep changing things. Jeff, do you know? Have you updated it?
Yeah, I found there's like a step-by-step search guide that they put on there as far as how to use this website. Scott, can I share my screen for 1 sec?
You got it.
All right. Basically, what I do is I make my students suffer through this website. So they have their journals out, and even too for us, you know, we're starting, you know, maybe some element B. You can maybe just write this down on a scrap piece of paper. But if I go to USPTO, what my students do, this obviously we're here to look at patents. So we're like, all right, we're just going to this patent area, and I see this option to search for patents. Now, I just have my students start with a patent search. So under patent search, again, there's a lot of clicks inside here, but I'm just starting off with a basic search. So let's use something simple. I want to search, say, for golf ball. Again, my school librarian, she comes in as well. She's helping them navigate through this USPTO website. And then when I search for golf ball, you'll see I have all these different things that come up, but I don't know what any of these are. So my students will spend a couple days just navigating through this website. I like the exercise Scott does as far as before they even get to the step, they may have to go out and just find maybe some silly patents or give them basic search terms. But look at this thing here. There is a golf ball mold having direct venting. Well, what the heck is that? But I have them go right to the PDF. The reason why I have them go right to the PDF is because no matter what patent they click on, boom, they got the publication date on here. They have the patent number on there, but this is the abstract. This is what my students could read. This patent, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, this patent is 24 pages long. Oh my gosh. But if I have them look just at the abstract first and just read that little tiny paragraph, if that is something that kind of pertains to what their product or topic is, then they can start looking in. They see all these technical drawings inside here. They start to read more about what this particular patent does. Hey, if this is something that's worth them saving, they're going to download this. So they'll actually click on this, they download it, and where are they saving this to? Everyone, what folder? Element Element B. So they're just saving that inside their Element B folder. Again, they're having the school librarians are helping them out. Oh, look, here's one on golf ball. What's so great about this golf ball thing here? Oh, okay. I'm reading the abstract here. All right. This here is interesting. Now, they're reading it. It looks like something has to do with the surface, the little dimples inside there, the little divots inside there. This was filed on October 9th, 2024. This is the inventor. They had a company that applied for it. But anyways, if this is something that they want to use, look at all these nice technical illustrations inside there. Boom, they're going to download it. So they're just going to spend time, they're just going to download patents that they think are related to their topic and their problem. Back in Element A, when I make them do their 25 key terms related to their topic, we're pulling out those 25 key terms and we're using those as some of the search items. So again, this website, believe it or not, it did get a lot better, but it's not perfect. They're going to struggle. They're going to kind of moan going through this, and then they're going to put their heads down. But again, having the librarian there, he was an expert at doing the research. She already knows what all the teams are working on. She's going to go in and help them with this UPS, United States Patent and Trade Organization website, USPTO. So that's what I do with my students. They just download a bunch of the applications. However, after they suffer through this, and again, this is only patents here in the United States, so I want them to start there first. Now, the second option, and I think it was Mike that brought that up, there's also google.com/patents. So if I go to just search patents, google.com, it brings up Google Patents. It looks like a regular Google search. It has the Google icon there, but underneath it says patents. Now we'll talk about some pros and cons here, but now if I search golf ball, what's great, because we all love Google, most of us, but what's good is that right within the search, I can kind of see a little bit about the abstract, a little bit about the summary. So if I click on one of these, now my screen is getting goofy on me. So if I click on one of these, it brings up kind of like a little outline as far as who invented it, the patent number. But anyways, I can download the PDF. And when I download the PDF, that's the same thing that's through the USPTO website. They have the date that it was published, the date that it was filed, the abstract. Actually, this looks more of a football related topic. But again, now going through google.com/patents, they can download this. They can move this inside their folder. Now, Scott, what I've been told though is that google.com/patents, not only are they going to get searches from United States, but they're going to start getting products from other countries inside there as well. But we always start with the United States first. If they're not getting a lot of hits, then we go through google.com/patents. But also, Google is not as up to date as the USPTO website is, just to let you all know. So that's why I make my students suffer through USPTO first before going on through Google Patents. But every one of these patents, both through Google, USPTO, I'm having them download this, saving it inside their Element B folder. They may have 30 different patents inside there. When they're doing Element B, though, keep in mind, they've already done their research. They've already spoke to experts. They've already did surveys. So they kind of have an understanding of, what the customers are looking for. Hey, taking everyday items to the beach being challenging and cumbersome. These customers are using this thing called the beach swaggin' wagon. They're using this thing called uh, the the beach stroller. So those are items that I'm trying to find on USPTO because I kind of know, hey, there's products out there that people are using. I'm going to try to find those patents out there. Sometimes when we start looking at products available on the retail market, sometimes they list the patent numbers that you can actually put in right within your search. So if you know a patent number, publication number, you can come right here inside the quick lookup area. So again, if I go to USPTO, I go to this patents drop down and you'll see search for patents. And then you'll be able to do the basic patent search, basic search again, and this is how you get here. I can type this up in a little document with screen captures just to help your students out. However, I guarantee this website will probably change before you get to this in the fall, but that could be something like a little cheat sheet that helps our students out. But when I introduce this, they have their journals out and they're writing down USPTO. I go up to the top. After I go to the top area, then I go to patents, then I go search the patents. A lot of clicks, but I'm having them write these down inside their journal specific instructions. Scott, as far as USPTO goes, or even Google Patents, any tips or tricks that you use with your students, or any pitfalls that you see your students experiencing with this?
Yeah, the biggest thing is you have to get them to think as broadly as possible. I mean, because like you were saying, they could have all sorts of different names for it, right? And so if they put in one search term like beach stroller and they get one or none, okay, well, what else might it be? Beach what? Or you know sand traversable carrying system, because they put all sorts of these great legalese kind of names on it and all. So yeah, let me share. Can I share for just
Oh,
a
yeah.
second? Yep. So yeah, when I was over there, I don't think Jeff pointed this. Okay.
It's a pain in the butt. USPTO. It's a
So
pain.
so I went with the still with the jet engine. So I searched on accessory gearbox and I found this one. And this is from Pratt and Whitney up in Connecticut. And I noticed in here worldwide applications. And so US, that's us, CA, Canada, PL, that's Poland, EP, that's the European Union. So and so 2016, 2017, and 2019, they made their applications for it and everything. So yeah, I have not up to now kind of pointed my kids towards this because I had been hearing too much about it having issues, but that was probably a few years ago, and I'm just being, stubborn about it. So I probably need to look at that some more.
Yeah, Scott's into Civil Air Patrol, so his passionate what his loves are. One of them is, aircrafts and flight,
Well,
aerospace, and
but that
that's
was my
great.
business for 11 years, and I left that business involuntarily. So
So one of the deliverables for our students and something that we're going to be looking at, not right now, but later on this afternoon, because we know you all are going to be working on surveys here momentarily. But my students are then given a patent summary sheet. So this is something we pulled out, so you have access to it in our day 4 folder. But after they download a bunch of patents, they're going to look through them. And each of my students, they're going to critique my students, high school students, they're going to critique 5 patents. So if I have a team of 3, they're all doing 5. They're going to have a total of 15 of these patent summary sheets critiqued. So, like everything else, what they outline it inside their journal first because we want to document the process. This is their project, this is their research. They looked at different patents. So, our students are going to outline, they can use bullet points when they do this, but they're using that same format on the sheet, the patent source, patent number. What exactly does that patent do? So they're reading the abstract, they're studying the images on there, they're looking at what's unique about that patent, they're summarizing it. Now, how does that get critiqued? Well, based off of what comes back from their surveys, taking everyday items to the beach is challenging and cumbersome. We're sending out surveys. I'm realizing that people say, hey, I wish I had something that was lightweight, something that keeps beverages cool, something that accommodates everyday beach items, plays music. So when I critique this pen, I'm like, this actually is a good product. This does meet, a lot of the needs of our customer. However, this thing doesn't really have a place to, keep beverages cool. It has a little cup holder, but that's going to be really warm. And then they kind of sketch a little design out here. So again, this is something that they outline inside their journal. Then they're going to go through and actually fill out the patent summary sheet. So I had my students do 5 of these a piece. Later on this afternoon, tonight for homework, just to get you all practice, you're going to just find 2 patents and critique those. However, sometimes there's products out there that don't have patents. Some people, they have a great idea, they go straight to manufacturing, and some people feel, hey, I don't have money right now to get a patent. I don't have time. I have this niche market. I have a short window. I want to get out there, get this thing manufactured, make the big bucks, and just get the heck out. Or about time someone steals my idea, that window's going to close. So sometimes there are products out there. So the second half of this element B is having students do basic Google searches, Amazon.com, Dick's Sporting Goods. If it's dealing with taking everyday items to the beach, maybe there's commercial suppliers out there that are specifically for beachfront rental shops or surf shops or beach accessory shops. So they have to look at both the commercial market and retail market. Had a wonderful team. They were working on cleaning large surface areas. Amazon doesn't sell products to clean large surface areas as far as machines go, janitorial equipment. There was a ABC Janitorial Supply in the next town over, so they had all these commercial products, but that stuff wasn't available on Amazon. So just know that there's other outlets besides retail stores. But again, we're looking at those products. Do those meet the needs and wants of our customer? Is there any shortfalls? Can any of these products be improved? But again, this element B stuff, when they get to this, they have done all of their research. They have done all their surveys. They've gotten their responses back. So they have a better understanding of what it is that the customer is looking for. And again, my students, they're brainstorming everything inside their journal as far as the products go, and then they're typing up one of those critique forms on there. Scott, before we get them out into their breakout rooms, anything you have to say about uh, products available on retail market, commercial market?
Yeah, so as they start finding products that they think are, ones that partially, hopefully only partially solve their problem. Obviously, if they find one that solves it completely, that kind of puts their problem statement into question. But as they're doing it, if they're finding the ones that look really promising ones, is that they have to start looking at that thing that I mentioned the other day of the product specification. What does it say on there that, it's less than 10 pounds, bigger than a bread box, but smaller than a school bus, that kind of stuff. What is it specific? Because that's when they're going to use that data to write their design specification. So because they don't have any other experience for writing design specifications, so they have to have something, and it will tell them what kinds of things they need to, what kind of line items they have to put in their design specification, and the kind of parameters, the numbers that go in there. So that's what they're going to have to start pulling off of that kind of stuff as they find. So remind them that just even if you're not going to use it right today, make sure you pull that so you got it.
Yep. All right. So again, just to be one step ahead, that's why we went over all the patent stuff. But our main goal right now for the rest of this morning is to work on your surveys. Start working on your surveys, meet together with the team. You want to have one master survey, but remember, when you get those responses back, is it saying, hey, this is a true problem? So we want to make sure that we're asking questions that are going to help us get the response. Say, yes, taking everyday items to the beach is a challenge. Yes, I've injured myself. So make sure that we're asking types of questions that is going to help justify as the problem. And also you want to ask people, do you currently use a solution? Do you currently use certain products on the market? Do you like them? What do you wish they did or didn't do? Because that's going to help us develop, like Scott was saying, those product design specifications. But that's your main goal. Work on the surveys. If you get ahead, later on this morning or over lunch, you want to start poking around at the USPTO websites for Element B, feel free to do so. But we were just trying to show you what the next step is by introducing that Element B. What the afternoon looks like, we're just going to talk about the similar solution matrix where all your patents are going to go after, but it's going to be pretty much the whole rest of the afternoon for team time as well. So again, this morning, you all should be probably just working on your surveys and looking at different forums that you can probably start blasting those surveys out to. I know a question came up to where you can buy those engineering journals. You can get them through the MyPLTW shop. Staples, I don't know if Office Depot is still in business. Scott was talking about the Book Factory, but I'll put some resources down and put those inside our shared resources folder for you all. With that said, breakout rooms are open. You are free to go. We'll meet back 10 minutes before class ends for just resume the recording. Hey, we know at this time you had some alone time with your teams, and you'll have a lot more time too this afternoon. But really, what's happening with these surveys? You're creating these survey questions, you're drafting them out. You will be sending these out, whether it's during lunchtime or whether you start doing it this afternoon during your break time. But you want to get live responses. An easy way, you can start out by sending these out to your friends. Maybe you have within your own high schools or school systems, maybe there's like a global email you can send these out to. Hey, group of high school teachers here. We're having fun in the summer capstone training. We're working on this project about taking everyday items to the beach. Can you please take 2 to 3 minutes and fill out our survey? Would really help us out. Thank you very much for your time. Go out to Facebook. If there's different community forums out there, same thing, reach out. Hey, I'm taking the summer class. We're looking at getting some feedback on a possible product we're trying to design. Would you mind taking a couple minutes and looking at our survey, putting things up on Reddit? Maybe you all have maybe different neighborhood groups or things like that at home. Just get us sent out so we get some responses. For my students, they've done the 5 associations. So they have 5 associations. They have contacts that they're sending these out to. I'm putting them up on the Project Lead the Way listserv for all the other EDD capstone teachers to take. I'm putting them out for all of our school faculty, my department to take. So I'm helping them out a little bit, but they are putting this out to their associations. They're reaching out to people, mentors that can help them out, push this out. So for my students, this survey process may take over a week for them to get responses. It's not uncommon for them to have 3, 4, 500 responses. I would say for our time frame, and we'll start looking at these responses, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, maybe even over the weekend. Maybe you'll have 50 or 60 responses, but at least you'll have enough responses to start pulling some of the data from that. Maybe you're doing a project that has to do with golf. So maybe you're going to be going golfing this weekend. Hey, make some paper surveys. Take those out to the golf course with you. So while you're hanging out at the tee box, waiting for people to golf in front of you, we always get a long line. Make some friends. Hey, I'm doing a survey. You mind taking the survey? You can drop it off at the clubhouse, get some photos there. Same thing for my students. Some of it may be done online and others may be them doing this face by face. because this is their passion. If they're into skateboarding and they're doing their project on skateboards, hey, they're going to be at the skate park anyway. So while they're there, take the engineering journal with them, take the surveys with them, get some photos out there, get photos of people taking their surveys. So that's what we're looking for. So again, maybe it's this afternoon, maybe it's during the afternoon session when we come back from 4 to 6. You're going to start blasting this out, but we want to try to get as many people to take our surveys for this 2 weeks that we can. Scott, anything else you have to say about sending out surveys and responses?
No, I think you hit pretty much everything, I think the one that I mentioned was Nextdoor or Ring Neighbors. Those are things that you can do. Depends on what you're looking for. You want to think about what your target audience is. The other thing I'm going to say, I'm starting to go through Block 2 and grading. I'm seeing a lot of good answers to things. Also in the discussions, I'm seeing y'all are responding to each other. They're really great conversations having. So make sure you're getting in and doing all your submissions and your discussions, because you're going to find some really good stuff out there. So thank you guys. They're very thoughtful things. So
Yep, keep up the good work there. Cheryl, how do you get permission to get photos of people? A couple ways, and again, that's a good talking point with students, because students think I can just throw a camera up in someone's face and start snapping pictures. If you do that, you could get arrested. However, hey, do you mind my teacher, just so they think that I'm not just making this up and just having my friends take the survey, do you mind if we get like a selfie with you? Or two, maybe a team member from far away, not like you're going to get anybody's face, but say if we're at Home Depot, maybe a student's kind of standing from one end of the aisle and there's a big crowd of people around the table while the other team members are working there. Maybe that could be like a photo op. But I always have to have those soft skill conversations because kids have never done this before. Don't just throw a picture and up at somebody. But hey, do you mind if we get like a group photo together? And I always say, make sure you're part of that photo too. So this way, hey, I'm gonna do this for my high school class. Is it okay if we get a photo with you? And I've never really had any issues with that before in the past. But Cheryl, thank you for bringing that up, because we have to have a conversation with our students about that, because they'll just go out. Same thing with Home Depot. They'll barge in and start passing out surveys, and management's like, is this like union activity? Like, is this solicitation? So again, having the students go to Home Depot ahead of time, explaining what they're doing, not that we're going to do the surveys today in class, but hey, next week on Thursday, my team wants to come by between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Is it okay if we set up like a little mini table by the plumbing department, by the contractor area? Here's a copy of our survey to the manager. And then more likely, and then what happens with my students, oh, I think this is great. Whatever you all need to. You need supplies when it comes time to building? I love it. We'll endorse it. And the kids are like, yeah, we'll put your name and logo on our final presentation. So that's a great way to meet people. And thank you for asking that, Cheryl. What I also did real quick is in the day 4 folder, I did a quick little cheat sheet for you all. Feel free to edit this when you download it, but it's a step-by-step guide how to navigate USPTO website. Just so you know, I did this once with my students, and I filled everything out, and then when I actually handed it to them, I was trying to get ahead. They changed everything on the website, but this website was just revised, so I think it'll be good for this coming fall with your students. But I did like a 6-step process as far as how to search for a patent, getting to the website, what drop-down menu to go to. So, hey, it's just one of those resources that we can put together for you. And Scott's going to put together a little list of that Book Factory website where he gets his journals from. Also, too, you have Staples, Amazon, Walmart. I like buying the $2 Staples specials, but there's pros and cons to all those journals. But we want to have you have as many resources as possible. Scott, anything else before we pause? We will
Yeah.
open up breakout rooms. Sorry, the cooking people for not naming your group the right way. I'll fix that here momentarily.
So yeah, on the thing about photos, remember, there's public spaces and there's private public spaces. So, if you're in a public park, if you're on the sidewalk and all, You can take pictures. Obviously, like Jeff said, if you're standing in front of somebody's face and taking a picture, that's one thing. You may have the right to take that picture. That doesn't mean they're going to be happy about you taking a picture right in their face. But again, if you're standing, off to the side, if they're out in public, they have no expectation of privacy, so you can take those pictures. But like he was saying at Home Depot and everything, yes, it is open to the public, but it is still private property. And so now you need the permission of the owner of the property. So that's where talking to the manager gets to, be an issue. And if not, you get into a confrontation, the kids can get a trespassing warning or a ticket or public disturbance or things like that. So they have to be careful about what kind of public space they're in, whether it's a public or a private public kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
sorry, my daughter's a lawyer.
All right, so this afternoon, I mean, obviously, if you have to continue working on your surveys, you can do that. You'll have time for our 4 to 6 meeting as well. But if you're looking for some individual stuff to do, if you want to start looking at the USPTO website, just save patents to your team's Element B folder. You may have a bunch of patents inside there, but eventually everyone will be doing 2 critiques. Start looking at products available on the commercial retail market. Check Amazon, check Walmart. I know for beach items, I know Dick's Sporting Goods, Cabela's have some, beach related things. I'm going to check the commercial market. Maybe I'm going to open up a doc and just list the websites on there. But eventually, I'm going to be critiquing some of those products on the market as well. So that will kind of put you in a good spot. When we come back this afternoon, we're just going to talk about where we put all these solutions. Not that we're going to be starting that solution matrix, but at least you kind of know a little bit about it. But you'll have probably 90% of your 4 to 6 session as team time. And then Scott and I will be kind of visiting your breakout rooms this afternoon, just checking in with everybody, seeing if you have any specific needs. But with that said, you are all free to go. We'll see you in 3 hours. I'm going to stop the recording